Okay. Okay, everyone up.
Okay, wait, sorry, I was looking for her.
Wait a minute. Okay.
I wasn't talking about you, sorry.
I have the good fortune of introducing some wonderful people this afternoon. Jennifer, thank you for your time with us. And now we get to spend some time with Desiree Dallgiacomo. So I want to just quickly introduce her for the few of you who may not know about her work. Desiree is an award-winning writer, author, and educator. She teaches performance, writing, and social justice-based workshops with the Recovery School District in New Orleans, the Center for the Arts, and Wordplay Teen Writing Project in New Orleans. Thank you for coming to Nashville to be with us, and we're really looking forward to the next hour.
Hey y'all, my name is Desiree, as Graham just told you. Wow, I feel like I'm announcing a WWE match on this mic. Yeah, welcome to the wrestling match. Just kidding, you're not at a wrestling match. You're supposed to be at a wrestling match, you're in the wrong place. So, go there. What was that? Or, yeah, that's fine too. I might wrestle. This microphone, I don't know. My name is Desiree, and I'm going to be reading some poems for you all on this wonderful microphone. If you feel so adventurous, if you would like to move forward, that's fine with me. I probably won't spit on you or bite or try to wrestle you. Any of that is okay. Feel free also to stay where you are. Welcome to this beautiful afternoon. There are children playing outside, and there will be inappropriate poems inside. Not that inappropriate. Don't get too excited. I'm going to perform some poems for y'all. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my poems and then probably make some bad jokes. So here we go. Thank you all for having me. It's a riveting group. Looks great. Just intelligent. Beautiful. Love it. My thighs say thunderous. My thighs say too fat for skinny jeans. Say wide, say open. My thighs say cellulite. Say bad tattoo, say stretch marks, say pock marks, say ingrown hair. My thighs feel upset that you only offered one bite of your Ben & Jerry's Cherry Garcia. My thighs say more, please. More room, more beat, drop. My thighs can dance all night. My thighs want your thighs to work a little bit harder. My thighs are always the elephant in the dressing room. My thighs say, what the fuck is a thigh gap? My thighs, hey Urban Outfitters, hey Banana Republic, hate American Apparel, love the one pair of jeans we wear 4 times a week because they're the only ones that fit us right. My thighs hope your thighs have a great day. My thighs want you to stop calling this body soft fruit. My thighs say feminism, bitch. My thighs say we have always been the tattletale of the androgynous. Cannot pull the feminine out of us. My thighs make a mockery of shorts. Stay spilling over at the everything's seam. My thighs say we don't want your praise, man on the street corner, man in the parking garage, man in Walgreens while we're buying tampons. My thighs say we are every man's wet dream, even when we beg not to be. When we close like locked jaw, when we ask nicely, when we beg him to stop, when we never ask for your eyes or your hands or your mouth. My thighs no bruise, beckon, they no quake, crave. My thighs have been shame, fear, still are most days. My thighs know when to tighten, when to stop all the space taking up. My thighs know empty. All we do is doorway for this body's ability to woman. We have always been this. Access of this balancing act of woman. Do we make you uncomfortable? Is this too much praise? Gospel of this body. We don't know small. Our everything is too big, monstrous, sturdy. We stay the stilts that carry this woman body, armor, the pillars for this heart, this everything woman. My thighs say you don't know shit about envelop. Coil through the quiver. pull the love into you like we do. My thighs say, leave the lights on. We spent a lifetime hiding. Shake out of this shame. We are the ruthless twins, the too strong to not run toward everything light. My thighs say, don't tell us shit about what we say about this body, this heavy body. It is light. It is light. It is ours. We gatekeepers. We welcome committee. My thighs say, come into this when we say, this is ours. All of this, ours. So welcome to the party. If you didn't know that's the party you were at, now you do. So as a performance writer, as somebody who, let me take this tube off my neck. As somebody who performs in high schools and middle schools and colleges around the country, there's this thing that we do in spoken word where the energy that I give you is sometimes based off of what you give me. So if you hear something you like, feel free to smile or laugh or snap or something you want to do. Say amen, doesn't matter, stomp your foot. That's why I had to get up off this stage. You guys, this stage could have potentially been a death trap, and I'm a stomper. So I was like, that's not a good combination. It's like kind of caves in. So for my own safety and yours, I'm down here. So that poem is a poem that I wrote. All these poems I wrote. I might read one that I didn't write, but I'll be sure to warn you before I read it. I wrote that poem. That's what I did. I did that. I wrote that poem. So I'm going to be talking to you guys a lot about, like, you know, the lady thing and the gender thing and all that. So that poem I like to start with. It kind of does a good job of oftentimes disarming the audience. There's these different types of writing that I have done and other women that write like me have done. We kind of go on this journey of, I was kind of talking to Lindsay about it earlier, we go on this journey of like really upset, angry, dark things about our identities, and it takes a lot to move to this celebratory place. And so I like to start with that poem because it does a lot of that for me. It feels really celebratory. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to read another poem for you guys. I wrote my set down because I'm like a compulsive list maker. Feel free to take a look. So I change my set a lot. So if I don't go straight and look at it, I'll do a different set that I was going to do somewhere else. I'm going to do another short poem for you guys. The book won't stay open. It's brand new. So it just closed on me. But I know what I'm doing next. This poem is shorter. This poem is for, I wrote for this person. So, as you may or may not know, in his #1 single from probably, I don't know, a year ago, Robin Thicke says, there you go, let's try it again. Robin Thicke says, I know you want it 18 times. Robin, no, I do not want it. You keep it. You singing the same rape culture song over and over does not mean my consent comes through your mouth. You are misogyny on 2 gyrating legs. You are Sandusky in a new suit. You are Steubenville in a fur coat. You are a rapist in sheep's clothing. You are the kind of man that ran catcalls up my girl body, thought all I needed was a little convincing, made me pray my hips invisible, wish my breasts undone, taught my knuckles to know to keep keys between when in a back alley. Robin, no means no. It cannot be proven wrong. There are no blurred lines here. Women do not need you to teach us about our bodies. Trust us when we say we know, because they're fucking ours. Thanks. So when people read bios about me, I'm always like, oh, what's I gonna say? I don't know. I don't know if anybody else that has ever had their bio read aloud feels that. I don't know if your family likes to do that at Thanksgiving or whatever. But it's always like this, what's on it? I don't know. So recently in October, I placed 3rd at the Individual World Poetry Slam, which is pretty cool. I also placed 3rd on my team in New Orleans for the National Poetry Slam. So, not the winner, not the runner-up, but the other person that gets a trophy. That's me. So I had to go through the airport with this giant trophy, and I was not prepared for what that was going to mean for the people around me. They were just like, "What's that trophy for?" And I made it. It was like 4 in the morning, so I made up this game like, "Oh, I was for a golf tournament," or "Oh, I play violin at coffee shops," or whatever, you know. So I just like made up what this trophy was about. And my boyfriend's like, "Why don't you care? Do you care that you won this thing?" And I was like, "Well, no, I don't." Anyway, those 2 poems are 2 of the poems that I competed with at the individual poetry slam. What that means is like everybody had to get into the individual poetry slam. There's 72 poets. We had to compete. We had to win all of our previous rounds, and then we made it on to final stage. That poem was born out of, you know, the ever-present genius of Robin Thicke. And also this idea that people like to, there's lots of policing happening for women-identified people, for people of color, for poor people, all of that. As a woman, I can speak from my narrative of feeling like I've been policed for a lot of my life and my body. So this next poem I wrote is for mostly the women in my family. This is a poem. It's called Sum of Her Parts, S-U-M. I had this relationship with the B word, the bitch word, where for me it was, for a long time, it was really, really linked to gender-based violence, and I couldn't exactly identify that until I started unpacking it and writing this poem. I grew up really poor. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. I grew up with my mom, and my father was very, very abusive, and so as a young person, as a young woman, I learned gender-based violence really, really closely. So this poem kind of tried to be about the women in my family, but it's kind of more, you know, whatever. You'll see. I'm just going to read the poem. Is that okay? How's everybody feeling? Woo! Woo! Great. You're a wonderful audience. Here we go. You know, I feel like I love the audience members that are just like very, very responsive. They make me feel like I'm like really funny. I'm like, stop, don't stop, no, stop, don't stop, don't stop. Okay, so this poem's called Sum of Her Parts. 5 years old, and my friend's father names me bitch when I refuse my bike to the neighborhood boys. 7, I'm bitch when I spit in Jacob's hair for stealing my ice cream cone. 11, I'm suspended from school for punching Stephen in the face at the bus stop. Called me bitch. In all the bite, I watched my father strangle out of my mother, runs my fist down his face, teach his mouth to say the name my mother gave me. As a girl, I was made to know that the blood I come from is a brigade of bitches. Women that will make you eat your words with a quick snarl. Got rid of all the men that would not say our proper names. Learned if you do not use your mouth, he will use it against you, as thrown to name himself mighty. But what is a boy? But a boy preparing to be a bigger boy. A fitful arsonist ready to burn down his childhood home. 13, I'm bitch when the man drowning in crack smoke hisses, I've got hips good enough to bear his children. 15, when I will not give my boyfriend a blowjob on the bus. 18, when I tell the bouncer to keep his fucking hands off of me. 21, when I boo the comedian through his entire joke about ripping his girlfriend to pieces from the inside of her vagina. 23, when the man ogles me on the corner, licks his lips so I throw a rock through his back window. Women in my family do not worry about being named bitch. We worry about being buried at the hands of the men we raise. About our daughters being too scared to say no. You cannot have what is mine. In all of my nightmares, it is a man that gouges out my eyes and makes me eat them. Pushes them down my throat until I stop telling him no. When I wake, I know it is my growl that keeps me. My blood, body, ties me to this place where I can never afford to stop snarling. Thanks. Thanks. My favorite thing to do is to like trick people into thinking when the poem's not over. There's always this like moment of people like, is the poem over? Do I clap yet? I don't know. But you guys and girls and other people are great. Great, so I got this nice notebook. It says your name on it. So I'm using it. A lot of colleges give me notebooks, but this one's the best. So I get to go, to different places. I'm an obsessive note taker, and I'll look in they're like, oh, do you go to Texas A&M? I'm like, nope, just got it for free. They're like, do you go to University of New Hampshire? Nope, just got it for free. So now I get to add this one to my, maybe I go there, maybe I don't. You'll never know unless I tell you. So I have a poem I'm going to read off paper. How are you all feeling? You're like, man, I'm all right, a little hungry. Oh, are you all feeling okay? Yes. Good. I'm going to do this exercise with you guys. I do this exercise. It's not as rewarding as you're all going to think it is. I do this exercise with high school students, and because they're like little crickets in the audience. So we do this thing, right, where I'm gonna say a familiar thing, and you are all gonna respond to it like it's the best thing you ever heard. Okay, live and yap. So with the kids, it's like they don't really know how to respond. They're like, do I clap? Do I stomp? Do I sit here? Do I cry? What do I do? So I'm gonna say a familiar, thing, and I want you all to respond to your favorite parts. Okay? Can I get a head nod? Let me get a head on. I want you to respond to your favorite part of this familiar thing that you may or may not have heard before, okay? I'm going to start. You ready? A, B, C, woo! D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. That's pretty good. Some overachievers over here. I like it. Okay, I'm going to do this really sad poem. Get ready. This is a new poem of mine. New-ish. I've been working on it for a long time. It doesn't quite have a name. It's tentatively Unreliable Narrator. It plays with, form and language and storytelling. So I grew up with, how many siblings? 5 siblings. I'm the youngest. My mom is married to a woman, so a lot of ladies around. 4 girls, myself, my mom, her wife, and my brother. Awkward. For the guy. Just kidding, not really. So I grew up around a lot of women. My mom also has 2 sisters, and she grew up with her mom. So we grew up really, really poor. My mom is from Ashland, Oregon. I'm from Chico, California. And there's a lot of mental illness in my family, so I write about that a lot. This next poem explores the idea of lineage and the idea of lineage of mental illness, but mostly, specifically, women and mental illness. It's a tough poem for me. When I was 17, I overdosed and was in a coma for a little over a week, and the doctors didn't think I was going to wake up, or they thought I was going to be quadriplegic. Not a big deal, whatever. So woke up, and I was just a very, emotional kid. So this poem is one of my first attempts at writing at that. So thank y'all for listening to me and letting me read this poem. Strapped to the stretcher, I wailed into the asylum or hospital. My wrists or cut red carnations bloomed from soiled body, funeral skin trimmed with a straight razor. This was the moment I was my mother's daughter, when I could no longer pretend the sadness or anguish was not swallowing or drowning me, when I learned to almost kill myself. When I kept 100 pills down long enough to be kissed by every eager EMT, toads turning me to a real woman, wilted altar for blood before me, Aunt Kelly, shotgun between her teeth, bathroom wall, her brief constellation, great-grandma Margaret, rifle pushed or pulled into the folds of her, Aunt Diana, vodka and Vicodin, or SUV off the cliff, or belly up in the river, Sister Christina, razor blade, bathtub, Grandma Karen, vomit until she's so small she may as well disappear already. I open my mouth and I hope my mother's sad heart does not stumble, drunk out of me. I am a body, or I am a scrapbook of survivor's guilt, guilt, turn each page and watch the women make ugly shrine of their or my bones, hold me through another frozen winter, through the tradition of fishing out the demon or slitting its throat. And when I say demon, I do mean me. Maybe I wanted to float or sink or stay still long enough to see what my insides look like or what my heart sounds like in slow motion, each dragging selfish gulp of blood, a glutton. Selfish heart, listen. I cannot tell the story about myself. It has to be about someone that I do love. My mother scratches her skin so viciously she is a field of ripened sores, digging or unstitching her seams. And isn't that living? Being so close to the fall, you can carve it into your skin. I recited in my sleep dreams of abandoned boats that look like my mother. I'm dumping buckets of blood from inside of her or me. Why can't the women I look like open without a blade? Can we only let coroners or surgeons see in us? Can I tell you, I chased the pills with flattened Sprite, or I felt them swell in my throat, or I blacked out and woke 8 days later in the whole room maroon. Sister Laura always combing vomit from my hair, ready for 2 braids to crawl their way down my selfish back, or even that the mental hospital or asylum has windows thick as an ice over lake. How we were salmon beneath, begging or hungry for someone to drop a line or catch or release or exhale or briefly save us from this bloody burst stream or invisible seam like a fishing line. And aren't I that? Oh, how I am the most unreliable narrator. How I lie through my stitched wrists, blood hunger or thirst, pretending to be a lesson on inheritance. Oh, how this love falls into me and begs me to hold my breath and sink. Thanks. That poem's really hard. I work with high school students, mostly, and young people that are interested in poetry are usually young people that don't have a lot of venues to speak. And I work primarily with young women in southern Louisiana. And it's a hard thing, right? As a woman, trying to be a role model, but also finding this line of what is appropriate to talk to my students about and what is not. And for a long time, that was kind of like a line that I walked. When and where do we talk about mental illness? And it's a thing that I think is really important to talk about. But as mentors, how do we do that with our young people or our students and also remain credible? And the really cool thing about being a poet is that I kind of get to do both of those things because that's my job, is to say really tough things. So I think, man, I had something to say, but I forgot it. That's okay. I'll just read the next poem. I keep looking back in this book. Are you guys okay? Is everybody okay? Is everybody still alive? I really liked what Mrs. Knapp, Senorita Knapp before me, she was saying some really important things, right? Like this idea, what she kind of kept going back to is this idea of like creating, and as artists, we are still artists when nobody's watching, but as somebody who has kind of a vast amount of visibility, or as artists that have a lot of visibility, it's hard to think people aren't watching, right? I get a lot of emails, probably like, I don't know how many, but a lot from young women, young people, who are kind of just looking for someone to talk to, and I don't really have the means to do that, to talk to all the young people, all the women that hear my poems and think, oh my gosh, I feel this thing and I have no one to talk to it about. Talk about it with. But I appreciated this idea that we create no matter what, and then we have to decide what is appropriate to share and what is not. What can we share with the identity that our audience has created for us? And that's also true for bodies, for living in bodies. Who are we allowed to be based upon what bodies we're living in? So this next poem is one that is also pretty hard for me to share. It's about my Aunt Diana. She's my mother's youngest sister. About, I guess, close to 2 years ago, she was found dead in a river. She was homeless for 2 years, and she was really mentally ill and grew up really poor and didn't have a lot of resources. And from, as my mom's youngest sister, my mom's the oldest, and that was a really, really, really hard thing for her. So for me as her daughter, I also look a lot like my Aunt Diana, so our whole lives these parallels have been drawn. So this poem is for her. It's pretty hard for me to perform. It's a very still, quiet poem. I don't perform it that often, but I like to do it in sets. It's written in form. The form is an invented form by a poet named Terrence Hayes. It's called a picha kucha, which means nothing to you all. But basically, it's self-referential, so you're going to hear a lot of the same words or skip or altered phrases in the poem. So, yeah. It's not really a form. He just wrote a poem like it, and then I decided to write one like it too. So we're the only two people that have ever written in this form. Welcome to the party. It's a form now, right? It's like creating your own style, whatever. My nephew, one of my nephews, his name is Samari. He's wild. Have you guys ever seen the show The Wild Thornberrys? Yes. Do you guys know Donnie on that show? That's my nephew. He's 7 and he's broken his collarbone 5 times. He's crazy, and his arm, he's nutty. But he likes to wear his favorite thing is to wear the gloves that don't go over your fingers. They just go right here, and my mom has one that has a peace sign on it, and he likes to wear those everywhere. Anyway, this is my thing over my hand, my nephew, this poem. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, welcome to the party. Here's the poem about my Aunt Diana. Thank y'all for listening. An elegy is a poem that is written about death. This is an elegy for my Aunt Diana, written in 10 parts. 1. My Aunt Diana and I are both the family's babies, both born blonde as dandelions. In the spring, we both plucked all of our petals from their stem. We are the same shell, different turtles tucked inside. 2. It is spring here, and my mother's voice through the telephone floats my Aunt Diana's body into me. She says the shell of her is found drowned downriver and no one is inside of it. 3. There is a photograph from 1969. A tiny blonde girl playing volleyball in the park. My Aunt Diana used to say that if she didn't know better, she would say it was me. 4. My Aunt Diana gave me my first fishing pole, taught me the river's want, and its ache, how it taunts like a hungry mouth. Spring is the river's most starved season. Salivating from a frozen winter, its violent lips lick the cliff's edge. 5, I have dreamt my body into parts, ripped this heart from its shell, how I cannot imagine her dead, how I see her body in my mirror. 6, a fisherman found her. He pulled her out with his net. The coroner knew it was her only by her teeth. 7, my mother's voice is the river that floats my Aunt Diana's body into me. I cannot swim to her fast enough. 8, I have no one to tell this story to. There is no language to say that a body that could be confused for mine beckoned itself to the surface once all of the life was wrung out of it. 9, my mother says that when the policeman knocked, she knew what they were going to tell her. 10, the body beckons itself back to its birth stream no matter how far it has strayed. I am but a salmon in these hungry waters. One day I will too die by the river, born a new dandelion carried back into spring. Thanks. So I have 2 books. Well, I have multiple copies of these 2 books. 2 different books that I have copies of. Whoa, this music stand moved on me here. I have Dimly Lit, which is a smaller collection, which I'm going to read a poem from you guys. And I have this book called Year of the Institution, which has much more poems. They're all handmade by my publishing person. He lives out on a swamp, so he just makes things like this all day. He cuts all the pages and he binds it, and they're actually really, really incredible. And I'm really, really lucky to have somebody that believes in my work enough to spend all day and potentially getting arthritis to make my books. Lucky me. Also, you all are a really, really great audience. I don't know if I said that, but I appreciate it. Right here, this is sweating, and I don't even care. That's how great you are. That's like my favorite part about performing. I can just say whatever I want. Not really. But I appreciate y'all listening and having me here. This next one I'm going to read is about my brother, who's the oldest. There are 6 children in 7 years. I know, I'm the youngest. One of my sisters is adopted, so calm down, there's just 5. 5 and 7 years. It's a lot. So my brother Michael is the only dude around. When I was 14, my brother went to prison for the first time, and he was in prison for 10 years in California, solitary confinement. Yeah, it was pretty life-altering for all of us. I have a couple poems about him that I'm going to read you all. This first one is called The Gutter. It's a poem about my brother and a tiny bit about my other siblings. So this is from the book Dimly Lit. It's part of this collection that kind of talks a lot about masculinity and the personal narrative. So this is one of my favorite poems to read. This is called The Gutter from my brother Michael. When gutting the catfish, Mike would slit it straight down the belly, use his thumbs to pop out the eyes the way "fuck you" pops from a broken boy's mouth. Teeny and Laura would dare each other to swallow the black beady eyes at the same time. Mike was a surgeon. Precision, patience, quiet as a thief in the night. Mom would say, "You know, I don't know why you eat that shit. Catfish are the garbage disposal of that goddamn river. They eat the shit the other fish won't touch." And we'd laugh the way we would. And we'd pull pennies, cigarette butts, marbles from the catfish belly. Before Mike went to the penitentiary, he was such a small catfish, filling with the shit the neighbors wouldn't touch. Mike can pull anything from the gutter, put it right back in it, too. He can cut any rabid beast in half. The pen, it slit him straight down the belly, pulled all that shit out of him, laid it out on the operating table. Now he's the biggest catfish I've ever seen. Nobody's ever gonna catch him now. Thanks. Thank you. This next one I'm going to perform about my brother. So my brother's this weird dude. He is super out of touch with the world, obviously. He's been in solitary confinement for 10 years. But this really funny thing happened. Last Christmas was his first time out of prison in a long time. And he was at my mom's apartment, and I left. It was over Christmas, and I left. And he called me in this he just frantically called me. And he's like, "Desi." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "I need a floppy disk." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, and then it gets better. He's like, "I need to unlock this computer." And I was like, "With a floppy disk?" I don't understand. Long story short, he never found a floppy disk because they don't exist. So if you find a floppy disk, my brother's probably still looking for one. He also is he's 6 feet tall, but he's very, very, very buff, but he has very small legs. Have you guys ever seen SpongeBob? Yeah. You know the lobster? The really buff lobster? That's my brother. He's also got red hair, so hello. There's this really derogatory term, which is muffin top, but I call my brother a buffin top because he's really buff on top, and then he has no legs, so that's the best I can do. So this poem's from my brother. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't get anything. This poem's from my brother. How's this poem start? Sociology classroom. Middle-class college kids talk about prison like scientist to lab rat. I do not tell them that a prison waiting room smells like spoiled Similac and Walgreens perfume. I do not recite my brother's inmate number back to them like some childhood prayer. The thing about prison that nobody gets is that everyone is on the inside. These are notes on loving a 5-time felon. When he asks you to bury his gun in your backyard, say no. Do not tell him of the jagged-beaked boys that turned your heart into breadcrumbs, because when he says, I'm getting my shotgun, he will get his shotgun. There is no hyperbole in this home. Broken knuckles, knocked out teeth, jutting rivers, scars on the map of jawbone are real here. When the neighborhood labels your blood beast, don't take it personally. Don't live up to the hype. Crochet, bake cookies, fly a kite. You are not all inside of the knife fight. You are only trying to grieve it. Blame, it is a funny thing. It's dance, smoke around the crime scene. Suddenly it has dirtied everyone's skin. Your father, the neighborhood, you did this to Michael. When people ask you to write about something more universal, something softer in its tragedy, explain soft is no longer an appropriate option once you've watched a skull full of your own blood become cantaloupe on the pavement. Prison, it is a funny thing, the way it creates shame like a honey hive, turns fat caterpillars into hornets, puppies into werewolves. When he tells you that a man should never put his hands on you, believe him. When he pushes his girlfriend down the concrete stairwell, believe him. This is where you learn to only love men that cannot tell you the shape that a fist can morph a jawbone into. The letters, they will not make sense. They will read like Morse code. Say things like, Desi, do you believe in God? Desi, what do I have to do to be a good father, to be a good man? Desi, what is a good man? This is your big brother. This is your big brother. This is the family you were dealt, and somehow you were all a fistful of aces. The first time that I learned that his hands did not belong to him, but to the memory that holds them hostage, was the same day I learned blood comes out of clothing best when washed in cold water. When I say brother, I mean that in which came before me. When I say brother, I mean that in which his blood is my blood. There are not enough district attorneys to convince me that the man that taught me how to ride a bike is meant to spend his life in a cage. The thing about prison that nobody gets is that everyone is on the inside. Thanks. Sorry, y'all. Had a little frog in my throat at the end there. Thank God for listening. Yeah. That poem's pretty difficult. So it kind of like, in telling people's stories or in telling our own stories, specifically family, I write a lot about family. We have to walk this line of like, how do we honor this person that we love and also talk about this ugliest part of them? And that's really hard, and in that poem, it was really important to me to try and hold him as closely as I could, because he's a huge part of my life, and it's really easy for people that meet him or that know him to not know what a sibling knows, or what my mother knows, or, you know, all of that. So that poem's really important for me. It's really hard. It was also very hard when my brother got out of prison and found out what YouTube was, because then he saw my poems. And his response was actually, you know, really rewarding. But it was, yeah, so I write a lot about prison. I work with young people who have a parent or a sibling that is in prison or incarcerated in some way. And it's always interesting. Whenever I perform a poem about my brother, there's always at least one student most of the time that it comes up to me afterwards and says, my mom's in prison, or my dad's in prison, or my uncle's in prison, and I've never told anyone about it. Because there's this really, really big shame, right? Because as we all know, prisons don't work. But what they do is definitely create identities for people that they can't get out of. So watching my brother struggle through that has been definitely a journey for sure. So I have another poem that I'm going to read to you all from this little tiny baby book. My best friend growing up, his name was Brian. Well, his name is still Brian. So, like I said, I have an adopted sister. My mother adopted her when both her parents went to prison. Brian is her younger brother, and we were closest. Growing up, we were very, very close. We both lived in project housing and were neighbors, and our parents did drugs together. So we were just hanging out, running around doing stupid stuff when we were like 5. So this poem is for him. It's not developed all the way, but it's a short poem that I wrote for him, and it kind of explores the idea of masculinity in our own fathers. So thank you all for listening. Are you all ready? How's everybody feeling? Woo! Ow. Man. Whew. It's not the word whoa, but there's another word that people spell wrong. Well, I don't know if it's wrong, but there's like 2 ways to spell whoa. Is that true? Or am I thinking of a different word? Maybe I'm thinking of color. I don't know.
Yay. I don't know how to spell yay.
No, I don't know. Yay, or woo. Like whoo. Whoo. Does anybody know how to spell that? I know. I just say it, onomatopoeia. Here we go. This poem doesn't have a name. So it has this weird little thing. It looks a little bit like a bug on top of it, but it's really just like a marker in the book that fancy poets use. The guy who makes my books is a much fancier poet than I. He went to Kenyon College. I'm like, whatever. Just kidding. He went to Kenyon College. He's an incredible poet, and he makes my books. He has a book. Anyway, this isn't his show. This is mine. This poem's for my best friend Brian growing up. Your father used to beat you with a vacuum tube, and some people think that's not my story to tell, but I tell it anyway. I tell a 4th grade recess, long sweater and denim to your ankles, how I ask what happened and the soft leak of the lisp you still have, how we played tetherball and never said another word of it. We just laughed at how your father always slept through the entire weekend while we drew curse words on the outside paneling of the house. We were not given palatable memories of our fathers, so we retell the ones we have like jokes and cross our fingers. The other kids laugh instead of ask questions we don't have the answers to. We, the seeds of the monsters poverty makes of men. We, not yet big enough to carry sorrow's weight slung on our backs. We, the children, ducking the fists of our fathers, using everything we have to avoid being the punchline. We learn to turn our ache into a playground joke. The insults the school kids bludgeoned us with could not steal the sweet sting of our bellies' laughter, the ice on the burns we could not bandage, the syrup they could not siphon from our tiny bodies. We laughed because we were not given another option. Your favorite joke to tell is of how stupid my father looked when he pulled the telephone wire straight out of the drywall in a drunken fit and then chased my mother around the apartment. It was fucking hilarious. Or the spring break your father blackened both your mother's eyes and she didn't leave the house for a week. Our father's fists, the one-liners we still know by heart. That's the end of the poem. That's all. I think this is the right poem. Thank y'all for listening. I have another poem I want to read. This one I didn't write. My nephews wrote it. My nephews Omar and Samari are now 10 and 7. And when I was writing this book, I was home for Christmas, and they're like, Desi, what are you doing? Are you writing a book? And I was like, good guess, yeah. And they were like, can we help you name it? And I was like, sure. So they didn't come up with the name. They didn't come up with the year of the institution, but here are some names they did come up with. So these are all for my nephews, Omar when he was 8 and Samari when he was 5. What's in my soup? There's a bug in my soup. That's a good one. There's a shark in the toilet. Should have named my book that. My brains are made of poo. Or one of my personal favorites, oops, I Ralphed on my head. Or, alternate title, oops, an Italian climbed up Spider-Man. Or, what's inside of me. That's all. Or, there's a fart in my butt. Or, from the mouth of an 8-year-old boy, there's poop in my poop. Oops, I forgot that was poo. I accidentally thought it was meat. Or, okay, this might be my all-time favorite one that they came up with that I was close to using. Michael Jackson's hiding under the stoop with a bowl of soup. That's my nephew. So if you're interested in reading the rest of their titles, you can find it in the book. If you're interested in persuading me to change the name of my book, feel free. So that is the only poem in the book I didn't write. How are you guys feeling? And ladies and other people? Gonna get a clap? One thing I tell the students is the crazy thing about claps is that you just can never run out of them. It's pretty crazy how that works. So if you feel like clapping whenever you want, you'll never run out. This next one I was debating whether or not I wanted to read. It's brand new. It's pretty unedited, and it might completely tank. So please still like me if it does. Preface. Recently, probably about 6 or 7 months ago, maybe longer than that, I don't know, I stopped shaving my armpits, and that was a really big deal for me. I found myself being super self-conscious and for lots of reasons, the idea of being the inability to be an unmarked woman was something that I was thinking about a lot. Who am I if I shave? Who am I if I don't? Does it matter? What really matters? I don't know. So this is a poem I wrote in that journey, so get ready. Sorry if it's going to be in a pro. Okay. It's not really. Shave my legs. Shave my armpits, shave my arms, shave my butthole, shave my vagina. Pull a razor or two until I'm so smooth I'm like a newborn baby rat. Shave until I have less body hair than a prepubescent Boy Scout. If I can't shave it, I'll bleach it. If I can't bleach it, I'll wax it. If I can't wax it, I'll pay thousands of dollars to kill all of my hair follicles with a laser beam until I can never ever grow body hair again. Shave my upper lip. Shave my eyebrows, shave the bottoms of my feet, shave my elbows, shave my fingernails. Look at me, I'm a pretty hairless decoration. I don't have a mouth or a clitoris or a brain. Shave me down to marrow. Cut deep enough to coil my skin and I'll weigh 10 pounds less. No more stupid skin to grow body hair that I don't need. God, I love razor bumps and ingrown hairs. I love to scratch the shit out of my vagina post-shave because I just can't handle these pesky pubic hairs, and God knows I'd prefer to suffer endlessly than look like a human being. According to The Walking Dead or The Hunger Games, I should be so dedicated that I'll shave even after a zombie apocalypse. Somehow, while scavenging for food and people that do not want to eat my brain, I will find a razor and shaving cream, and I'll sit down for a nice shave in post-apocalyptic America. And after I fight in a death arena, I will be discovered to be the only survivor with no underarm stubble. Look at all this time I have and all these life-threatening scenarios to shave my body. I'll even shave my butthole, and the stubble will turn my butt cheeks into a tiny Venus flytrap. My tiny needle hairs will endlessly protect my butthole. Shave my breasts, shave my stomach, shave my back, shave my knees, shave my nipples, shave my belly button, shave my eyelashes, buy razors, buy wax, buy hair removal cream, buy shaving cream, blueberry flavored shaving cream, and orange blossom scented, and fucking foaming purple shaving cream. If I don't shave every day, my body will grow millions of tiny needles and I will become a walking cactus. And I will injure anyone that tries to touch me forever and ever. I might even poke my boyfriend's eyes out. God, I love shaving my entire body. It makes everyone's life so easy. Thanks, that's only the third time I've read it aloud, and I censored some of it for all you folks out there. One time I read it and the audience loved it, the other time they were like, eh. No, there's only one line, I just took it out, it's about a ball sack. We don't care about ball sacks. You guys, that is, I have one more poem for you all. Look at this. You guys, this is remarkable. I've almost finished this whole bottle of water. I don't need more, Lindsay. Trust me.
I'm just saying, we got you back.
I'm an incredibly slow drinker, but you wouldn't know by this. Thank you all for having me and letting me banter and read poems. I'm really excited. I'm really excited not to see the speaker before me, and I wish I could have seen what happened last night and the night before. I heard it was really, really incredible. I'm excited for the panel afterwards, where we can have some more conversation. That's not me just speaking at you. I have to tell you one more story. Forgive me. The first time I read that poem, I read it on my phone like this, and there was spit all over the phone. It was just covered in spit to where I couldn't even scroll because it was like wet. So feel grateful that that wasn't a part of what just happened here. So this last poem is celebratory. I live in New Orleans, and I wrote this poem after my first really, really bad relationship. Well, not my first, after my last really bad relationship. So it kind of, again, straddles that line of celebratory versus really, really angry. So I appreciate you all, and this is my last poem for you. So ta-da, this is my trick. Oh, how many of you guys have ever been to New Orleans? Carlin, I know you have. See you over there. Been there for a day and a half, I know it. They told me that, that's how I know. Who's been to New Orleans? Great. So you know it's got a lot of water. So I can't hear anyone talk about love without thinking plane crash. Every face, a choir of heartache, costumes of loss, trumpet voices, and the second line marching band out of my funeral home heart. Y'all, what I learned about grief, I learned in a winter in New Orleans. Nights I would drive the city, end up by some massive body of water, sob at its shoreline and stare the beast in its face, and it didn't give a shit how loud I screamed. It roared back, louder. If there is anything that breaking like a wave has taught me, it is that when love leaves, it doesn't always shut the door on its way out. Y'all, last time I left my heart wide open. The hurricane in me got so bad, my best friend had to call me every single morning for 3 months straight just to make sure I was still alive. Because sometimes that is the hardest thing to do, just stay alive in this zombie heart planet, people walking around pretending to exist. It looks so damn easy to play along, but listen for the people with the upturned palms whispering here. Take my sweater, it's fucking freezing out there. You compass, you waterfall smile, you umbrella chest, you Grand Canyon elbows. You deserve to make it home. Ignore all of the radio static, lost signal hearts when all you want are directions back to the lighthouse where your own love lives through this goddamn sea storm. Keep swimming. The lighthouse, it is there and it is worth it. That kind of love only stays when it has to, and it stays every single time, y'all. I swear to God, my mama folded laundry in the hospital that I was born in so that I wouldn't first see the world as some backroad barn in Oregon. I come from a heart made from sturdy hands, a heart made to set sail, ride the waves, keep swimming. The storm, it is always thick, it is always loud. The road home, it is small, it is quiet, it is a warm you have to get used to. It is a ship made from everyone that ever told you they loved you and stayed when your heart slams shut so loud you cannot say it back, y'all. Sometimes I am so spilling over with feelings. I have to lock myself in my bedroom, turn the lights off, and pull the blankets up over my head so that I don't explode out all of my insides. I'm fragile. I am terrified to say that, y'all. I break like a fever, like a bad habit, like a windshield, like a wave, y'all. Sometimes love doesn't stay, but motherfuck, when it does, it is worth every person that ever told you that you were not enough, every fire extinguisher mouth that tried to put your love's honest flame out, that confused your birthday candle kiss, your firecracker mouth for some blazing forest, some torched chapel. Let them run out of you like a house up in flames. They are not the first. They will not be the last. Pull the fire alarm. Let it rain. Thank y'all so much. That's all I have for you. I think Graham's coming back up. Are you coming back up, Graham?
No.
Give it up for Graham.